Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much tonight for tuning in to Long Talk. This is our Tuesday edition, and I welcome all of you all to this wonderful night. And I am so appreciative for you taking the time to tune in and watch another edition of Long Talk. Tonight, we are so privileged to come into wherever you're viewing us from, and we're so privileged that you have taken the time once again as the viewing audience. What is our talk show without you watching? So I always want to start off by letting you know how grateful I am that you've taken the time to tune in and to watch Long Talk. We get so many replies from you, the viewing audience, on how much our dialogue and our conversation is such a blessing to your life and how it is such a pick me up for the middle of the week and how it also impacts your life. Because so many of you have wrote to us, sent us messages. And even as I travel, I was in Augusta, Georgia this past weekend, and I had a group of people say, hey, listen, Daunta Long, we're watching Long Talk. So shout out to all of my friends in the great city of Augusta, Georgia, as I was told, the home of James Brown. But listen, thank you. So wherever I am, I'm so appreciative that I'm always hearing from you. And I'm glad to know that Long Talk is having a wonderful impact in your life. Long Talk has been created and designed to be the dialogue of the evening that will challenge you, entertain you, bring you into focus. And once we bring you into focus, we wish to provoke the qualities that will impact your life and make you the best individual that you can possibly be. And for the last few weeks, amid this pandemic and amid this crisis, we've taken many topics and faced them head on. And tonight shall be no different. Tonight, we're so privileged because we have an individual sharing with us that is a wonderful personality, a cutting edge leader, just a total gift and a grace to not only the body of Christ, but to the world at large. And tonight, I am so privileged and so honored. And guys, when I use these words, privileged and honored, I really mean I am privileged and honored tonight to have who I call my dear sister. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight, will you help me receive Pastor Jennifer Carner. Pastor Jennifer Carner. God bless you, Pastor Carner. How are you this evening?
Hey, Pastor Daunta, I'm so honored that you called me and that you invited me to come and share with you just to talk about my book and my truth. So thank you for having me.
Oh, listen, it is such a joy to have you here tonight. And I want to tell my listening audience that we got to be honest. If I can, Pastor Jennifer, I will always call you Pastor Jennifer, but people need to know that I've known you for nearly 2 decades. As
That's
you and I
right.
were talking before the show, as we are getting older, man, it appears that we are no longer the new kids on the block. We are now some seasoned veterans. And again, you and I have known each other and interacted for nearly 20 years. And
That's right.
to have you here tonight and to watch and see and literally marvel at how you have continued to progress up the ladder. And as to always say, I am not only honored to know you, but I gotta be honest, when we see you in many arenas and platforms, I often tell people, I know Pastor Jennifer Carner. I've been knowing her for 20 plus, very close to 20 years. And so I'm thankful. But while I've known you for 20 years, a lot of people do not know who you are. So quickly, let everybody know, our viewing audience tonight, who exactly is Pastor Jennifer Carner?
So I am a Macon girl. So I want to shout out all my Macon family. I was born and raised in Macon, Georgia. Graduated from Central High School, matriculated to Mercer University. For most of my life, I've been in the church working in some facet, whether it be youth ministry, whether it is preaching or singing. I was in a group for most of my life. I think we met because we had some mutual friends who sang and preached. And so most of my life I've served in ministry, loved every moment of it. Matriculated, as I shared, to Mercer, then went to Emory, was called to ministry, served at Greater Travelers Rest, went and then served in Tampa, served in Memphis, and then came back home in 2017. And at Greater Travelers Rest House of Hope Atlanta, I served as the first female lead executive pastor. Honored to be there, and I want to shout out my pastor, Dr. E. Dewey Smith Jr., for just being a supporter of women in ministry and being a supporter of my ministry personally. Thankful to be there serving as the executive pastor of membership care. Mm-hmm. And I give leadership to all of our congregational care systems. So as you can probably imagine, we are very busy right now because of the pandemic, just caring for our congregation and letting them know that we love them. So by trade, I'm a pastor, but I also love tennis. I love music, and I just enjoy hanging out with great people and hanging out with my tribe.
Wow. So I heard you say that you're the first female pastor there. And just tell us a little bit about what are some of the challenges of being a female pastor in a traditional context or traditional church setting.
Oh, wow. I would say, because I am missionary Baptist, or I grew up in the missionary Baptist church, that I've seen gender bias at work. There's sometimes you would travel to a church where you were invited to be the guest minister, and the first thing they say is, "Oh, hi, where's the preacher?" So when they see you, they make some assumptions, or when they hear your name, they make assumptions of what you should look like, what you should sound like, and what you should be like. And so I think one of the greatest challenges that I've had is just coming into those stages and into those moments and continuing to be authentic, continuing to be confident in who I am in those moments when people are questioning, can she really do it? She's young, I started out at 15. So there's a bit of ageism there. But I think in the missionary Baptist church context specifically, when you walk in, there's so many presuppositions made about who you are and what you can do. And so I have to address that by just embodying who God has called me to be. Dr. Smith gave me some great advice when I started. He said, listen, you don't have anything to prove to anybody. Just be who God has called you to be. And your actions will speak for themselves. Your leadership acumen, the way that you respect our leaders, and the way that you prepare for your meetings. I don't believe in coming to a meeting without an agenda.
Yeah.
As a senior pastor, you know about that.
Sure.
So I think he told me your professionalism, the way that you carry yourself, if you just embody the characteristics that you want people to walk away with concerning your pastorate, then that's all the work you have to do. Just be you.
So if you don't mind my asking, here I was thinking about this and jotting a few notes earlier. What has really given you the courage to do this? Again, as you've been saying, in a primarily and mostly man or men dominated culture, here you are, not only a woman, but many might even call you a girl because of your, as you said, your young, tender age. With all of this being in front of you, what has really given you the courage regarding ministry?
So I think we live in a season and in a culture where we call ourselves to stuff. You know, we got this whole social media thing. You can be whoever you want to be on social media.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of times we are self-proclaimed, but my call was one of those where I couldn't run from it. I knew it was God.
If you don't mind my asking, you said you're not just self-proclaimed. Why do you say you're not self-proclaimed? Do you have some type of endorsement or educational tracking? I know I heard you say something about going to Mercer. Anything that you did to prepare yourself to help develop that courage?
Oh, absolutely. So my first degree, my bachelor's degree, is in Christianity with a minor in Greek and business administration. That's the degree I got from Mercer that I believe definitely prepared me for critical biblical study. And then what I loved about my experience at Candler School of Theology, that's where I got my master's of divinity, is that they exposed me to classes like pastoral care, religious formation, which is the teaching. How do we teach in a church context? And then also they had a class called leadership and formation. And in that class, we learned about accounting because, if you're a pastor, so you already know, senior pastor, you already know, if you can't read a balance sheet, that may be a challenge to your ability to be a good pastoral administrator. And so I think my educational experience prepared me, but just knowing that God called me, that this wasn't something I chose for myself. That's what I was alluding to earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to do so many other things. I wanted to be a psychologist. I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to do all of these other things. And in my life, God just made it very clear to me as a teenager, listen, I gave you a gift to preach the gospel. And because I called you, I'm going to give you the courage to stand even when others don't believe that you have what it takes to stand.
Tonight, if you're just joining us, our special guest here on Long Talk is Pastor Jennifer Carner. And tonight I need at least 20 of you to go and follow her at the Carner JLC. Again, our special guest tonight, for those that are just tuning in and watching us here on Long Talk, our special guest is Pastor Jennifer Carner, talking to us about the courage that it has taken for her to rise and to continue to progress in her course on her journey in her ministerial capacity. And as she was just saying here before the break, that courage was birthed out of you knowing what your call was. And so how long have you been doing this now?
Oh, you're making me tell my age. I thought you were my friend. I started, like I said, when I was around 15. So I would say 21 or so years.
Wow.
I'm 21 or so years into ministry. And you made me think of something when you were just doing the recap.
Mm-hmm.
I think one thing that gives me courage as well is knowing that there is some little girl who's watching.
Wow.
And she's saying, because of Jennifer Carner, I can do full-time ministry.
Yeah.
Because of her, I can be a pastor, or I can be someone who watches out for people, a shepherd over people. I can do that. I want little girls to know that being a pastor is a viable profession, even for little girls.
Absolutely. Absolutely. A lot of people that do this are only looking at their position, but not understanding the posterity. As you said earlier, there are little girls looking up to you every time you grace those doors there in Decatur, Georgia. And whatever platform, as many don't know, you travel across this country preaching in many conferences and services, revivals, and things of the sort. And so I'm sure you've encountered countless amounts of young women and young girls who look at you perhaps even as a role model. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. I do have mentees, and I don't want to spoil the surprise, but I'm gonna go ahead and put it out there. I am starting a mentorship program for young preaching girls ages 18 to 25.
Wow.
And so that's start next year. But yes, I do have young ladies who call me and they say, Pastor Carter, I'm preaching at this church. Will this text work? How would you approach Psalms 92? How would you approach Psalms 91? What should I do? And I just love sharing because I didn't have a lot of female role models starting out in ministry. My mom was my role model. She was like, look, if you're going to do this, you're going to be a lady of class and distinction. If you're going to be a female pastor, you're going to be a lady. And so I appreciated her doing that. And so whenever I can pour into other young ladies, I do just that. I do just that.
Wow. And given that opportunity, I'm sure you're doing that on a consistent basis, thus mandating and obligating you to your new venture, coupled with what you're already doing as executive pastor. So I think one person said that a preacher's job is never done, right?
No.
I'm sure that you're going to keep that busy schedule and continue to make the impact in the lives of so many young girls. I want to ask you this, if you don't mind. So busy as a pastor, coming off of the heels of a lot of academic training. And then now, here it is, you're now a new
Yes,
author, which
yes.
brings you to the Long Talk platform tonight. Tell us, you got a new book, you say. You have a new book.
Yes, I do. So my book is 31 Days of Winning, and it's basically a devotional journal. And interestingly enough, I wrote it specifically in a female voice, but I do have some brothers who
Mm.
order the book and they say that they're blessed by it. Do you want me to talk about how the book was birthed?
Well, since you want to go ahead and go there, I know you're excited about this book, so let's dig in. What caused you to write this book? What caused you to write it?
So you said I can be real on Long Talk, right?
Listen, because
I can put
Long
it out.
Talk is about authentic expression. Listen, let's just be as real as we possibly can.
So I'll tell you the story. I was getting married. This was probably around 2016. I was engaged and things are going really well. And we went to our premarital counseling sessions and found out that our lives were headed in two totally different directions. And we called off the wedding.
Mm,
And here I was pastoring in another state away from my family, not really having the support system that I have now.
mhm.
And I didn't know what to do.
Wow.
I was in a crisis of confidence, a crisis of just strength. Everything for me was uncertain and
Mm,
unstable. And so life doesn't stop for us to catch our breath or for us to recover.
yeah.
So I wrote these words in this journal. These are the words that I wrote to myself to get up out of the bed. I'm talking about I would read these words, and it's the only thing that would keep me moving and keep me going because I really had lost my drive. And I'm sure there are some other people who felt that way. You just don't have the energy. You just don't have the strength to show up in your own life. And so these were the words that I wrote to myself to get up out of the bed, go to work, continue to preach, continue to pastor in my own personal crisis. Because you know this, as pastors and faith leaders, we are not exempt from crisis. Hard things happen to us too. And listen, it's okay not to be okay. And so this experience allowed me to develop these words and develop this journal. And I just want to share it with other people who may be going through something hard as well.
Wow. Wow. So let me make sure I heard this clear. You said you actually birthed this book out of a time of crisis.
Yes, I was in, somebody knows what I'm talking about. I was experiencing probably the hardest breakup I'd ever experienced. And these were the words that were birthed out of that.
Hmm. Mm. Some have often said that you should write a book when you are clear of mind and if you have the ability to tuck away into a sacred space where you can really pour out. But you're saying that you were not afforded that. You were on the recent heels of a breakup of a engagement,
Yes,
and during that time is when you found the courage to pen
yes,
this journal and this book.
yes. It was in the crisis, in the silence. I can even remember the conversation I had with God as I was writing. I was like, God, I call people and I check on them. I've always had a heart for people and I always loved pastoral care. And so I'm always calling and checking on people. Lord, why isn't anybody calling me right now?
Mm-hmm.
Why isn't anybody checking on me? And the Lord said to me, well, because I decided to handle this one myself.
Wow.
I decided to
Wow.
handle this one on one. And in those conversations, that's how I came up with the chapters of the journal or the different entries of the journal. There's one entry called Rest because I've had sleepless nights where my mind was on this hamster wheel of what if and if I had done this. Somebody knows about that hamster wheel when your thoughts become cyclical.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wrote a chapter on rest. If God is asleep, if God is awake, then you need to be asleep. That's in that chapter. And then there's an entry that I wrote about safety.
Mm-hmm.
because I was always concerned being a single woman. I'm on my own. What if an intruder tries to get into my home? And so there's an entry in the journal about God is trustworthy. God is a God who is faithful. And if God is with you, he'll keep you safe. These are all things that I had to tell myself just to stay focused and just to continue to show up in my life. So it was in the crisis that I was able to get clarity and see what God was saying for that season of my life.
Hmm. Wow. In the crisis, I was able to gain clarity. I need somebody who's watching this, who's going through your own crisis, to write that in the comments. In my crisis, I can gain clarity. Because, Pastor Carner, I think you're blessing me right now because over the past few weeks, so many have been writing to us and saying, I just don't know what to do. I've lost my job. My health benefits have been removed. I'm in the rears with my mortgage and my rent and my child's tuition. One lady wrote us the other day and asked us to if we could help, and we did the little that we could to help with that. But um, what you're saying here tonight is that you can actually gain clarity in the crisis.
You can. You
Mm,
can. I mean, I think for us, we don't realize that God is enough until God is all we have. And so there are moments when you can't rely on anything. Like when we look at the news and we look at COVID and how it's affecting our communities, we can't really stand on anything that we're seeing. And so the only thing that we really have right now is God.
mm.
And I do believe that God can give you clarity and give you direction in moments when you really don't have anywhere else to go or to turn. At least that's how it happened for me.
Wow, wow. And so you said this, and again, thank you to those that are tuning in. We see that many are just signing on tonight. We are with author and executive pastor of the House of Hope, Decatur, Georgia, Pastor Jennifer Carner. If you will, follow her at the Carner JLC. But you said something earlier, Pastor Carner, when you talked about rest. One study shows that um, in America alone, we lose nearly 50,000 individuals. 50,000 individuals die each year from sleep deprivation, right? And
Right.
here you say one of the tools to winning and gaining clarity is rest. Why do you think rest is so significant?
Oh my goodness. How many bad decisions have we made because we were tired?
Hmm.
I would venture to guess there's somebody who's watching. You dated the person that you're dating right now because you were tired. Now, if they're with you, don't say nothing. But we've made a lot of decisions just because we were tired. And so when you are rested, you are able to think more methodically. You're able to think more clearly. You're able to think more wisely. I know when I've been tired, I am no good. I am no good because I'm not able to focus and I'm not at my best self. And I think what we do a lot of times because we want to win and we want to be successful is we will go and go and go until we can't go anymore. Not
Absolutely.
realizing, not realizing that we're only able to achieve about 50% of what we could had we been more rested.
Yeah. 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 So, anything you want to say to somebody who's watching me tonight who has been restless or who's had a hard time going to sleep? I saw a post today that said because of COVID-19, I'm having the time of my life trying to get adequate sleep. My sleeping schedule is all upside down. I don't know when to sleep, when to wake up, when to go to bed, when to get up. So, is there anything that you want to that maybe you can suggest to someone that's having a high level of difficulty with resting during this time of crisis?
Absolutely. There are a couple of things. The first thing is, and this is something we've got to do as a community, we got to destigmatize counseling and therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think as a culture, we feel like, oh, I can't go to a counselor. I don't need anybody in my business. But I think it's perfectly okay to seek professional help if you feel that you are unhinged. Somebody knows what I'm talking about. When you have no peace and you can't get your feet on the ground, I think it's okay to get a counselor. I believe in seeing a counselor. I go regularly because I share myself with so many people in just talking and preaching and just pastoring. And so I need somebody that I can talk to. So I think getting a good counselor is a wonderful way to kind of cope with the season that we're in. And there are a lot of counselors that are offering their services right now online for free.
Mm.
The Haven House Counseling Center at our church. All you have to do is go to our website, find out about them. But first, I would say counseling.
Okay.
The second thing is, I know we're all independent and we can do so much on our own, but you need a support system. You need a
Mm.
tribe. You need some people. I call them cheerleaders and truth tellers. You need some cheerleaders to tell you when you're doing good and some truth tellers to tell you when your lace front is sliding back. You need you need both cheerleaders and truth tellers. You need people who can support you. And then finally, I would stay away from the negativity.
Wow.
Be in a space where you don't allow if somebody's speaking negatively, you say, hey, I only need words of life. Get some people around you who can encourage you, who can lift you up. You are not a gas station. You are not Quick Trip.
Mm.
People can't just come into your life, fill up, and then leave, and you are left empty. You need some people who come into your space and that come into your life just to pour into you and help you grow stronger.
Wow.
So counselor, then your tribe or your support system, and then having positive voices around you.
Wow. 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 And I must admit, I live by one of the scriptures found in the old ancient writers, that wisdom is found in the multitude of counsel. Because
Yes,
as much as you said earlier, we as church leaders and um, we are consistently pouring out advice and wise counsel to those that are in need. We many times fail to replenish ourselves with adequate rest, counsel, and then lastly, I remember in one of the chapters as I was skimming through, you said that all people need a place of safety, and I know it's difficult to find a place of safety while you're in a crisis.
yeah.
Why can't I just deal with life wherever I am? Why do I need a place or a time of safety?
Well, I think it's important to be able to admit that we don't always feel safe. I think my power came from being able to say, I'm not okay. I don't feel safe. And once I was able to admit that, that's when I realized, okay, God, you're trying to show me something. You're trying to show me that there is safety in places that I have neglected, that I have overlooked.
Whoa,
You
stop right
mentioned,
there. Stop right there. Wait just a minute. I don't want to speed through that. There is safety in places that I have neglected
and overlooked.
and overlooked. Wow, wait a
You
minute.
you
I need just a minute to digest that, because I'm the kind of person, I love to pass the blame.
mhm.
Pastor Carner, you didn't provide any safety for me. What are you talking about? But you're suggesting that there is safety in places that I have neglected?
Absolutely.
Okay, go ahead.
Absolutely. What I'm talking about is, for me, my walk with God has layers and it has different facets and parts to it. So my prayer journey with God is a place of strength. And I think sometimes when we're in a crisis, we're so busy trying to survive that we forget that we have tools. We have weapons in our own prayer journey, in our own walk with God, that we can use to get through the crisis, but we have neglected them. And in our trying to survive, we forget that those resources are available to us. I found peace just in singing songs that brought me over. I'm not talking about necessarily the contemporary gospel, even though I love it,
Mm-hmm.
but I had to return to some old hymns.
Mm.
Stuff like "It Is Well With My Soul," "When Peace Like a River Attendeth My Way." I had to go back to some of that stuff. And on
Wow.
your journey as a young believer, if you're in your 20s and in your 30s, you would think that you would forget that stuff. But when you're in a crisis, it's the songs that your grandmama taught you. It's the prayers that you heard your mama pray that get you up off of the floor and that tell you you will live and not die.
Mm.
So for me, the safety is found in some places that we often forget about.
Wow. About 3 weeks ago, um, just for no reason, um, here I was singing that old hymn that I used to hear my grandmother sing every couple of days. The hymn that talked about hear him now call to his father, not my will, but
You know
thy
about
will
that.
be done. Oh,
Yes.
when I come to the end of life's journey, wearied of life, and the battle is won. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
well done. And I don't know why I was singing that in the morning and in the afternoon and in the evening. I just sang that, and before I know it, I was preaching that in right around the Easter celebration. And one of the old mothers of my church, she called me and she said, you know, I don't know if we needed to do this live on this Facebook thingy y'all young people are on. She said, I have my grandson put that mess on the TV, she called it. She said, when you
Mm-hmm.
start quoting the songs of the old hymn, my blood pressure went down. And I
Wow.
said, Mother, say that again. She said, my blood pressure went down because I remember that song. Because when we at church, you got them old lights going and room is dark. And I like your preaching, but we don't sing a lot of them hymns at the church. But ever since you got on this Facebook and YouTube and, this foolishness, she called it, you start singing hymns. And that particular Sunday I was watching and you were singing, she said you didn't just sing the chorus, you started singing the verses. And she said I could feel calmness coming over me and my blood pressure went down. She said, because I've been worried to death about my family.
Yeah.
And here you are tonight saying you had neglected. And
Yeah.
like we said, if we can be honest, I've tried my very best to be as neo-Pentecostal, uh, tried to be cutting edge with everything that we do with the aroma of our sanctuary and making sure that we have made it as postmodern as we possibly can. But while Mother said her blood pressure was being lowered, I felt peace unlike I have felt in a very long time just from singing one hymn that seemingly I've been singing now for about 3 weeks. And I think you here tonight talking about that's a place that we all have neglected really speaks to me. And so tonight in the Long Talk, I need somebody to write in the comments, say, I will not neglect my safety. Come on. Come on. If you're watching this, I need you to write in the comments as an affirmation, this mantra of affirmation. Please write it. I will not neglect my safety. And those that are just watching, we're on with Pastor Jennifer Carner. Let me ask you this about safety. When we neglect our safety, how difficult is it to run back? You remember the old song, Here We Go Again, the late Lucretia Campbell will say, I'm running back to the safety of his arms.
Yeah.
How do you think we can run back to safety?
So let me see. I think what I hear you saying is the safe
The
places.
safe place. Uh-huh.
How do we get back to those safe places where we can be authentic,
Yes.
where we can be healed, where we can
Uh-huh.
be free? I think regaining that has to do as I shared before, with number one, admitting that you don't feel safe. So being okay that you're not okay. And I don't want us to take that part too lightly, because I think a lot of us try to be so strong for so many people. One of my favorite podcasts is Therapy for Black Girls. And on there, they talk about how, as African American women specifically, we feel like we have to be all things to all people all the time. And so having a moment where you say, you know what, I don't feel safe. And then looking at the things that you have going for you versus the things that you think you don't have. All right. What I've found is the blessings that I have far outweigh the crisis that I'm in.
Wow.
Because you can look at all of the stuff that's happening. I know a lot of people are unemployed right now. I know a lot of people are uncertain about their future. But listen, you still have your health and your strength. And as long as there's breath in your body, as long as you're still in your right mind, I am believing and trusting right now that God will send help from Zion, that there will be resources that we'll be able to apply for, such that when we come out of this season, I believe that some of us are going to have more resources than we had before we went in. Because it starts with saying, you know what, God, this is beyond my pay grade. I need you to help me through this. And so there's a moment where you realize I'm not in my safe place, but then also saying, okay, what is it that I do have? And how can I focus on the positives and the resources that are at my disposal to get to a safe place? I think that's how we start the journey to wholeness. That's how we start the journey to the safe place.
And for those that are just joining the conversation, again, you said that this journal was birthed out of that. So take us through that process. As you were penning this and as you were just writing out of your experiences, was it liberating for you to share your personal experiences with the world?
Absolutely. I do read a lot of Brene Brown, and she talks about vulnerability overload, or that there's a moment where you feel so vulnerable that it kind of scares you. I can't really say I had that moment. I felt by sharing my truth, there may be some woman or some man who reads this who says, that's me, and I can get through this.
Yeah.
Because as you walk through the different entries of the journal, there are different elements of the journey and stops that you make that remind you you can get past this moment. I was just looking at it. I have my copy here where I talk about, as I shared, the power of rest. But then there's also one that talks about peace, redefining your happiness. There's a chapter on freedom from worry. And then I do kind of do some straight talk with you. I talk about time management, how some of us are unable to really enjoy some of the greatest blessings of our lives and some of the greatest periods of growth of our lives because we don't manage our time wisely. Okay, we schedule 800 things in one day and think that we're going to be great at all 800 things. You won't, because there's not enough you to do all of that.
Wow.
And so I think what I like about the journal is that it's a moving journal. It takes you from one step to the next, from height to height, glory to glory, showing you how you can reason through these moments of crisis to a place where you feel stable, where you feel like, okay, I may not have everything I want to have, but I'm better.
Funny you brought up time management, because I don't know if you've heard this, but a lot of my friends are saying it appears, and a lot of my colleagues as well, they're saying to me, hey, Long, ever since COVID-19 took effect and the shelter in place was invoked, man, I've been busier than before this was put in place. And Pastor Carner, do you think this is healthy? Is this healthy to be more busy in the crisis than you were prior to the pandemic?
So that's where you have to always fight for your balance. I think for me, the first few weeks, I can be honest. You said we can be real on Long Talk. I can be honest.
Absolutely.
and say the first few weeks, I was running 1,000 miles an hour.
Wow.
I was on too many Zoom calls, too many Facebook calls, just a whole bunch of stuff, FaceTime calls. There was just so much going on. And you know what I did? I decided, I talked about this the other night on another live. I decided to buy a bike. And so what I do is I ride my bike for at least an hour a day.
Wow.
And that's my moment to unplug. That's my moment to kind of regain my footing. I also do my devotional early in the morning, and then I do another devotional late at night. And so I plan within my day moments to get my bearings, to get my balance, to get my feet on the ground. Because if you're always going, listen, you can't fix something that you're using. So there have to be
Wait, whoa,
moments
whoa.
where you
Say that again. You can't fix what?
You can't fix something that you're using. You can't fix something that's in use.
Mm.
And so we have to power down so that God can give us the downloads we need for the day. So that God can work on us, repair us, just restore us. We can't, if we're always moving, there's no restoration. And so I think for me, COVID-19 almost got me to that place, or took me to that place where I was moving too much, doing way too much. And I stopped. I said, listen, I'm going to stay balanced. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to take my moments for meditation, because God can't fix me if I'm always moving.
Mm. Wow. Wow. I was thinking when you said that, I know some pretty good mechanics, right? I mean, if I'm not going to give out their number because I'm sure everybody will call them. I know some really good mechanics. And they always say, you have to bring the car to me and let it sit a while. I'm going to get to it the next day. And I'm often thinking, well, why can't they just fix the car while I'm driving down the street, right?
Right.
And then swing the pendulum. If you look at NASCAR, I know a lot of us don't watch NASCAR, and I don't proclaim to do so either. But no matter how fast they're driving, at some point they have to pull over and stop. And you said it here. You can't fix what's moving. And here on LongTalk, I know we have a lot of church leaders that watch us. I didn't say it. Pastor Jennifer Carner said, you cannot fix what is in motion. You must stop. If our grandmamas was on this live, they'd say something like, sit down somewhere.
Come on. It's essential. It's important.
Sure. And so you suggest that we can win by resting, by finding safety. How else do you think in your book you're talking about winning? And we're saying tonight that there are strategies that we can win. Any other nuggets that you wish to share with our listening audience today as to how, if you just want to sit here and talk to us, talk to that young girl who's watching, talk to that young preacher who's trying to forge their way. What does Pastor Jennifer Carner have to say to give some type of winning strategy or strategies to someone that's watching in the middle of this crisis?
Well, I'll say this. Get the book. But
and sidebar, let's say this. You can see it there on the screen. You can find 31 Days of Winning at Amazon.com. If you'll type in Jennifer Carner or Pastor Jennifer Carner, you'll see it there. It's there. 31 Days of Winning is available there on Amazon. Or for those of you all that wish to get out and go to Barnes & Noble, you can go there. I'm telling you to sit down somewhere. Just click a button and go on Amazon. You don't have to rush.
It's only available online at Barnes & Noble. It's only available online.
Oh, only available online. Okay, so you don't have to go to the store. Great. So you can go to the website. So get the book.
So here, yes.
No easy way to say it. Get the book, 31 Days of Winning by Pastor Jennifer Carner. Again, the seriousness of the moment, I will ask you, what somebody is looking for that winning strategy tonight. And they're saying, I'm tuned in tonight, Pastor Carner, really, I need some help. Um, having a hard time
So,
resting, having a hard time getting in that safe place. I'm having a hard time just taking a breather. I'm constantly going, doing for others. I'm still trying to work from home. Now I'm a homeschooling parent. I'm
right,
homeschooling my children. Whew, I need seems like I'm up at the beginning of the first one up and the last one down. So
right.
what can I do? What's a winning
So,
strategy that you can drop on me tonight? Because I'm watching and I need something to help me.
so you gotta focus. You gotta
Focus.
find a way to
Mm,
focus even in the middle of the crisis.
mm,
Because I believe that that's what the enemy wants to steal from us in this season. I believe I believe the devil is real. I believe that Satan wants to steal our focus
mm.
so that we are not able to sit down and come up with a plan to get from where we are to the next thing. And so in my book, I do talk about focus. How a
Focus.
lot of times when we go on social media, we start looking at the success that other people have achieved and all the wealth that other people have amassed.
Mm-hmm.
And we forget that we don't know what they did to get that.
Yeah.
And so we want what other people have, but we don't know what formula they used. We don't know their journey, and we start focusing on those images and forget that God is saying, all I need you to do is focus on you and what you can do today. So I think making sure that you find your focus is going to be critical for your success and for your ability to win in a crisis. Find your focus. But then also, right after you find your focus, the next step in the book is to find your freedom from worry. Once you've had a moment to focus and figure out what it is that you can do, what is it that I can do in this pandemic? What can I accomplish? I may not be able to go into work, but guess what? There are some areas in my marriage that I can work on. There are some areas with my children, things that I couldn't do when I was going back and forth to the office that I can now focus on now. And so there has to be a sense of focus. But then once you found that focus, don't worry.
Mm,
Give your worries to God. Do the part that you can do and say, okay, God, now it's your turn. So there's a part about freedom from worry. Then, as I told you, there's the time management piece.
mm-hmm.
And then I challenge you to move forward.
Mm.
If I can, Pastor Long, can I read a little bit just to
Sure.
just to tease them? Give
Sure.
them a little
Sure.
teaser. I say this: everything begins and ends. Some things were only meant to be temporary, while other things are meant to last forever. Learn how to live with endings. You'll meet them over and over again. Keep thinking, keep planning, keep pursuing, and stay resolute in knowing that God is rooting for your rise and plotting the next steps of your journey.
Mm,
That's what I want to leave with everyone. A lot of the things that we allow to keep us up at night, God is saying, I've got it. I just need you to trust me. Jeremiah 29 and 11, for I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you, not to harm you. God is saying, I just need you to trust me. Do what you can. Lean on the strength of your support group, but allow God to be God, because God will never let you down.
mm, mm. Wow, that's powerful. Even what I picked up in that is everything doesn't last forever. An old adage simply says all good things must come to an end at some point, right? And so
Absolutely.
learning to say goodbye, learning to know when a door is closed is healthy because there have been a lot of people in the time of the crisis. And if you're just joining us, we talked about this earlier. There have been a lot of persons that have lost their jobs, lost their income, and they have trusted in that income for the last 10, 15, 20 years. And now that it has been snatched away due to the economic downfall, they're having a very difficult time letting it go, hoping that perhaps that boss or that employer, that manager, that supervisor will call them back tomorrow and say, come on back in. But the likelihood of that happening perhaps is slim to none. So how can a person that has received some of the most horrific news learn to say goodbye? How do you think they can deal with that?
Listen, there is no cookie cutter way
Mm-hmm.
to deal with endings. But what I do believe is when you see that a door is closing, think about what you have left. And I say this because
Mm.
I think I was reading in Forbes magazine that over 30 million businesses are going to have to close down
Yeah.
because of COVID-19. But at the same time, listen, I am hearing that there are some businesses that are birthing new facets of what they do, and that's what's keeping them alive in this season. But then there are some who are learning how to take what they've lost and build something new from that. All right. And so I think look at what you still have. You may not have the last opportunity or the last business, but perhaps God is transitioning you into a new facet of your business acumen. Perhaps God wants you to start your own business.
Wow.
Maybe something that you were doing in person, God is saying, I want you to do it online. I want you to offer it through a website. I want you to be web-based. And so while some businesses are shutting their doors, some businesses are flourishing. It's a time of feast or famine, depending on how you approach the season. So don't get discouraged. The door closing may mean that God is saying it's time for you to go on ahead and get your business license and really launch that vision that you've had since the beginning of the year or before.
Yeah. 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 Wow. Wow. Pastor Carner, this has been a wonderful conversation on helping individuals understand. I want you in our close just to talk again to somebody who is just really saying that they're going to go ahead and purchase this book. I want you to challenge them and just help them understand what they can do in the process of going ahead and starting something new. And then starting
So
some. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, so only thing I was going to say is once you get the book or when you order the book, you receive the book, know that it's to walk alongside or it's to come alongside
Mm-hmm.
other positive moves and strong moves that you're making in your life. You can power through this pandemic. When you get the principles in the book, apply those principles. What I found is that a lot of people read the book over and over again. So you think it's 31 days of winning, but it becomes 60, 65 days, or it becomes 90 days. So you may have to revisit some of the principles in the book over and over again. But on your path to winning and on your path to wholeness, be gentle with yourself. Be gracious with yourself.
Mm.
Know that there are going to be some issues that won't be resolved today. Rest and lean into the discomfort and know that it's building something in you. It's building your courage. It's building your character. It's building your faith. The hard things and the crises of our lives never mean that God is absent. But those are the moments that God is cultivating our courage and our
Mm.
character so that we can survive the crisis.
Wow. 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 That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Again, I want to encourage you, the viewing audience, to go to Amazon tonight, pick up a copy of Jennifer Carner's new release, 31 Days of Winning. As I know, as she said, it's going to be a walk along to help you develop winning strategies. When she talks about safety and time management and focus and just making sure that you know when to bring something to an end and when it's time to begin. These are key strategies to help you and I win in the middle of this crisis. So again, don't delay tonight while you're here watching LongTalk. Please just go over to Amazon, pick up a copy of 31 Days of Winning, Pastor Jennifer Carner, and I trust it will be a blessing to your life. Pastor Carner, we are so thankful for you taking the time to chat with us here I want everybody to know that you can go and follow Pastor Carner at the Carner. That's CARNER JLC, the Carner JLC. Stay up to date with what she's doing as you continue to do great things. Again, thank you so much for sharing with us on this evening.
Thank you for having me. Listen, family, I love y'all, and there's nothing you can do about it. Thank you, Pastor Long.
We love you. We love you so much. Listen, as we prepare to leave tonight, you've heard wonderful words to help you understand how to win and how to deal with this crisis. And I want to encourage each person that's watching to maintain the grace to win. As you heard Pastor Carner say, don't beat up on yourself. If you've been laid off, if you've been terminated, if one door is closed, one opportunity has ceased, it's quite all right. Guess what? It happens to us all. None of us are exempt from the difficulties of life, the challenges that present themselves on a day-to-day basis. But the thing that separates the winners from the losers is knowing when to make the right move, as God will grace you and I to win in the middle of the crisis. Friends, you've been watching Long Talk. Let me say this before we go. On this Thursday night, we're going to have my very special guest, Pastor Micaiah J. Young from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, with his new release, Made in His Image. Micaiah J. Young, Made in His Image. Finding myself in this crisis. He'll be our special guest this Thursday night, 7:30 p.m. right here, same station. And please tune in this Thursday night for our very special guests. We love everybody, and we're so thankful for you taking the time to watch Long Talk. Until Thursday, 7:30 p.m., God bless you.